So good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's session. We'll give everyone a few minutes to join, but it looks like there's a good number of us here already, which is great to see. I'm thrilled to see so many of you joining us today as we continue to explore a partnership and an integration that we believe is a genuine milestone for practice productivity. I'd love to understand a little bit more about the document management solution that you're all using. So if you're keen to do so, please do share in the chat what you're using at the moment. We won't judge, so don't be shy. But it'd be great to understand what you're using at the moment so that we can tailor the session accordingly. And as we go through, answer sort of queries and relate to the document management solutions that you're using for today's session. Thanks, Matthew, using Engage at the moment. That's great to hear. And Andy will be able to share some insight into his experience with using all three in a moment. At TaxCalc Engager, our mission, as hopefully you're all aware at the moment, is to provide you with the broadest possible choice and the most reliable, comprehensive, and sophisticated tools to run your practice. Today, we're speaking with three individuals who have first-hand experience of the triology of TaxCalc Engager and Workiro to offer best practice and valuable insight. First, I'm delighted to welcome David Owen, the president of Workiro. So, Dave, if I could ask you to introduce yourself to the audience, if that's all right.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. There we go. The camera's panned.
Just in time. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is David Owen, as Danny just announced. I'm the president here at Virtual Cabinet and Workiro. Hopefully, a few of you have heard of Virtual Cabinet before. We're best of breed document management for accountancy firms. We also have Workiro, which is the evolution of Virtual Cabinet in the cloud, the next generation cloud-based document management solution. Delighted to join this afternoon. I've been working with accountancy practices for the last 15 years, working with all sizes of accountancy practices from sole practitioners through the mid-market and the top 100s. So hopefully be able to bring some value today in the conversation. Really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. And I can see some users are dropping into the chat to share what they're using, and it's great to see a real spread across different systems, so we can cover all of those and more hopefully on today's session. I'm also joined by the wonderful Nick Moss. Nick's our head of Presales and Training here at TaxCalc Engager. Nick, would you be able to share a little bit about yourself and how you're spending your time these days?
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. I head up the pre-sales and training team at TaxCalc and Engager, making sure that everyone who's interested in both tools understands what they can fundamentally do, but also making sure that people who are using it get the most out of it. So, Gary, I'd love to hear with you, have a chat with you at some point in terms of understanding why you couldn't get on with Engage. So I'd love to reach out and have a chat with you to find out what it was that you struggled with, see if we could get that back up and running with you. But yeah, before that, I used to work in practice for a number of years. Started off as a trainee at 18 and then left to join the software industry. But yeah, I've got hopefully some good experience and good insight to add today around how document management systems work, because I was fundamentally the most junior member of staff at the firm, learning how an accounting practice works with a document management system at the same time. So yeah, hopefully we'll get into how firms can implement them really well and get the most out of them.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks, Nick. And Nick, it's fair to say that you and I speak with firms every single day, don't we? And we sort of understand the operational strain that specifically, I say, small and medium firms have. So if you're a firm that's currently using network folders or SharePoint, and that's how you're managing your documents at the moment, and you're looking for a more sophisticated solution, that's a great example. You're in the right place, and hopefully we'll give you some great insight on today's session. And by no means least, I wanted to welcome Andy Wainwright of Wainwright's Accountants to the webinar today. Andy, could I hand over to you to share a bit of background into your role at the moment?
Yeah, hi, thanks, Danny. Andy Wainwright. I'm the managing director of Wainwright's Accountants, based on the Wirral, just near Liverpool. I'm also the founder of Engager, was previously called Clients Engager, and then we've shortened it to Engager.app. Basically, I'm trying to run a business to effectively, run itself without me having to be there all the time, and bring in solutions such as TaxCalc, which we've been a long-term user, maybe over 20 years. I'm now working with Workiro as we look to scale.
Brilliant, thanks, Andy. And it should be mentioned, you're a genuine user of Workiro. You're a paying customer. Yep. You saw the requirement for this solution, so it's hugely helpful to have you on today's session. So thank you so much for joining us. And I guess in the next 45 minutes or so, what we're going to do is demonstrate how the enhanced and embedded integration between TaxCalc Engager and Workiro strengthens the completeness and the visibility of the client record, and specifically why that relationship materially improves workflow, and peak season control for accounting firms, and with everything that's changing in the market as it stands right now, how you can use the human element to get across that client service as well. Before I hand over, just a bit of housekeeping. We'd love to keep the floor open, chat within the chat function, discuss amongst yourselves. This should be visible to everyone. So any comments that go into that chat are live and being shared with all of the other attendees. But we'll also be running a Q&A that we'll try and keep an eye on. I will drop in to ask your questions as they're coming through when our experts are talking. So please do share your questions as well, whether you want to share them in the chat or the Q&A. Hopefully we'll be able to cover all of them. I think maybe it's worth handing over, Andy, to yourself first to sort of give some context in regards to your operational sort of strains that you're seeing within your firm, what experience you've got within that, and sort of where best practice has led you to look at this trilogy of software solutions.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Danny. Well, basically, I thought I'd just give a little short background on where Wainwright's has come from and where it is today. It was started probably about 30 years ago from my dad has a sort of a retirement project, and he was working from home. Prior to that, I'd actually been working for a short period of time at Vauxhall Motors, so I'd worked just in time, delivering a quality product, and that was a great experience working for a blue chip company. Then I had another year's worth of experience working in a stationery company, but didn't particularly find the product was really exciting me, to be honest with you. I was known as Mr. Paperclip for a period of time, and that wasn't particularly great. And then I moved over onto to designer retail, and I spent a good 10 years working, scaling retail operations as their sort of financial controller there. Back in 2006, I'd made a decision to leave. I think my dad just wanted to retire. And he was working from home, so it was a bit of a come down, to be honest with you. So knock on your dad's door, go and work in a bedroom, then progressed into a garage, then above a shop, then to a serviced office, and now we have our own service office. At the time when I took over, I think just shy of 20 years, because my daughter is just turning 20 this year, so it's in line with that period of time. I think we had 80 clients, and now we have 1,800 clients today, and we have 24 staff members working within the operation. So that's a bit of a background of where we started and where we are today. And I suppose when we first started, we're going back 20 years ago now, so I think we were even on dial-up internet back then, and there was a lot of paperwork, client folders, which were in cabinets, and foolscap folders they were actually, in cabinets in alphabetical order, and you used to pull them out randomly as to when and what you wanted to start that job. Clearly, that was never going to scale, and that was probably like a cottage industry that we were running. Today, we have evolved over time. We're now really, looking to make our accounting firm scalable, whether that is for acquisition or whether that is for the staff members to take over. That I have the confidence that the business is working seamlessly. That was the decision. So, like I said at the beginning of the webinar. We've been long-term users of TaxCalc. We love the product. We actually created Engager where there was some shortfalls in TaxCalc, which would have been letters of engagements. That's why it was called Clients Engager, to automate that process. And obviously, I think people have seen the journey. Matthew, who commented before, was one of the very early adopters of Engager, and seen that it had been produced by accountants for accountants, and that's always been the energy that we wanted to bring. And I suppose we've always been on, we've used Office 365 SharePoint for the duration. Once we'd moved away from this filing cabinets approach to Office 365, that revolutionized the fact that we had everything online. It was all able to be shared. But more recently, as we've grown and as Engager has become leaner and better at catching the holes into the net, as you would speak, and every firm struggles with that. We've decided to adopt Workiro. I think everyone knows that I'm associated with Engager and TaxCalc, but Workiro was an independent decision for me to get involved for the benefit of our accounting firm.
Yeah, absolutely. And at what point, Andy, do you feel like you knew that there was a requirement for Workiro in the firm?
Yeah, I think we had reliability issues with SharePoint. Also, there was no uniformity, is what I would say. With my background being in manufacturing of motor vehicles, you need processes in uniformity to ensure that the product comes out the other side of the track, as they would call it, in the best possible condition that it could be.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nick, perhaps from your experience of working in a firm and a larger firm, perhaps than Andy's firm now, you were sort of seeing the same thing, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing I found with historical folder structures is there was only really two main ways of finding documents, right? In terms of by the file name or the folder which it was stored. If either of those were incorrect, it meant that the whole process fell apart. So being able to have lots of different ways in which a system like Workiro can do, and Dave will show that in lots of ways, I'm sure, later on this afternoon. Allows for people to make a mistake in one particular part and still be able to find it. So, as a junior member of staff, when I started in practice, I'd never used a document management system properly before in the way that we were using, even though it's now probably seen as quite an antiquated one, to be totally clear. What it did was it made me understand how the firm wants to run and wants to be consistent across those processes. So going speaking to, me and you, Danny, have probably spoken to way over 3,000 firms in our time in the industry. It's quite easy to see the operational differences from the firms who have a document management process in place and the ones that don't. As we've got on the screen there, the variety of different documents and processes and emails and spreadsheets and messages all the way across a firm, having them all stored in different locations, different places, with staff members having different processes is a complete nightmare. And I'm sure, Andy, that's what by taking on Workiro is the problem that you look to solve.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably everybody who's in this chat who's governed by an accounting body, there's additional pressures for compliance these days. You have to have that documentation, and it's probably not just compliance; it's also your clients. There's an expectation that you can get your hands on those documents immediately, and if it's being filed in the wrong place, that is a real problem, because then you're trying to scurry through 1,800 files in our case, trying to find exactly where these documents were located, because we all rely upon them, once we produce a set of accounts.
Yeah,
And Andy,
absolutely.
would you say that's like, sorry, Danny, would you say that's like an uncomfortable truth about it? Because we've all grown up with Windows folders, right?
Yeah.
They're free of charge. So I can totally understand why, in a world when you're looking at commodities, why you would have to buy tax and compliance software, practice management software, why you'd have to buy, an internet connection, a phone, a laptop to be able to run your practice as essentials to get going. And you think, okay, well, I can kind of do without document management because I can use my folders, but it's kind of almost potentially, and maybe if you're a single user, that's a sole practitioner, that's kind of okay because you know where everything is. But as soon as you maybe get above a certain amount of staff, then there's some cracks that appear. And I'm just wondering if you've got any real life examples of like where you saw some of those cracks yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think I spoke about uniformity before, and I'm sure you're doing a short demo in a little bit, Dave. But I mean, saving file names in a uniform type of manner without spelling mistakes. The integration here, TaxCalc is sending out those folders as they are named. But I think if anyone's experienced using TaxCalc before, the file name isn't particularly obvious to a client. And the thing that I absolutely loved about this, where the file names were being saved in a named structure that makes sense to the clients, makes sense to the accounting firm, staff and owner. And that is all the uniformity that's going through. So every time the client has a touch point with you, then every single client is experiencing the same quality. And there's spelling mistakes, that dents confidence. It really does with the clients. If their file name is spelt incorrectly, they then question what else hasn't been done to the standards that are in the actual books.
And I think when you're first starting out a firm, there are other, Dave, as you've mentioned, there are other things that you focus on as a priority, but this issue can compound quite quickly. And if you haven't got this sort of process set and protocol set within the firm, it can run away from you a little bit, I think. And Nick and I have seen that over the years where we've spoken with firms who just don't have a handle on it, and probably wish that it was one of the first things that they implemented because of the sort of the real life implication it has if you don't. So it's really interesting to hear that.
And I'd like to just add one more point on that. I appreciate it's probably one of the top left-hand corner of what we've got on the screen there, the Outlook integration, because when I speak to firms up and down the country day in, day out, right? I think that even if people have got on top of their folder structure, whether in SharePoint or in a folder structure, a more traditional one, and they feel like they're kind of getting away with it, the one major thing that they are crying out for is proper email integration and email storage. And even if David kind of referenced that one bands can sometimes kind of get away with it with SharePoint or a folder structure, everyone knows that the search function within Outlook is terrible for searching for emails. So by having an integrated filing structure for emails allows even individuals, but much larger practices, whether it be 10, 15, 20, 100 staff practices, be able to see all the email correspondence across the different staff members with your client in one consistent location is, for me, the biggest difference between having a proper purpose-built document management system and without one. So, like I said, you can kind of sometimes you can get away without one for the time being, but you can't for the standard documents. But the emails is the biggest difference. That was always the thing that I noticed when I was consulting with firms that had a document management system and didn't, was that the communication visibility across the firm was what those firms without one was lacking.
Yeah, what we've really loved at Wainwright's is when we're reviewing work and having quick links in our phase processes for review. Now we have a quick link straight into Workiro where we're able to open the Excel file, review it, see if junior members of staff are doing cross-balancing, any other errors there, and fix it on the go, in live in Excel, as opposed to prior to that, we were probably having PDF copies quite a bit. I mean, and it's all about reliability at the end of the day. I was searching for an email on a 365 which wasn't connected for somebody else, and I couldn't find it not yesterday, the day before. And then I had to explain to someone, oh, listen, I can't find this particular contact, this file. And then the next day, I did find it, but it was that unreliability. It almost made me look weak that I didn't have a secure system for collecting that type of data.
Yeah, I guess that's just the client expectation that you will have. You will have it, and it's about sort of making sure that you can present that and be confident in that. And I'm mindful of timing. I'm sure that we could probably chat for an hour or so, just with Andy alone, and understand sort of how Workiro has benefited his firm. But perhaps, Dave, if I hand over to you to kick things off with a bit of a demo.
Yeah, just Pad as I'm switching over the screen. So the main point of this is to really show that best of breed software providers coming together, where we're really putting the accountant at the center. So traditionally, I think there's been plenty of good software applications out in the marketplace, but ultimately driving factors might be that certain integrations haven't quite lived up to what's been promised, or territorially software applications have tried to hold on to particular areas. And I think this is something where we feel very proud that TaxCalc Engager, Workiro, where we fit in our specialist lanes, are coming together and offer, yes, we're still two software houses, but the ultimate aim is to deliver one solution. So I'm going to show a practical example of how that all unfolds today and do a live demonstration. It's going to be a really condensed version of that because it would take, normally takes sort of 45 minutes to show the whole thing. We haven't got that time, but it's just to give you a flavor of the TaxCalc and Workiro integration. Of course, Engager as your practice management as part of that one single database. So I'll just switch over and share my screen. Just give me 2 seconds.
Dan asked a good question earlier as well. Hi, Dan. Just about whether we're going to send out a recording of today's session, which we absolutely will do. I think you'll get one automatically if you've been registered, but we'll make sure that everyone gets a recording from today's session as well.
Great. Okay, so everyone should be looking at my screen now, and you can see Workiro on my screen. I've got it currently hovered over the connections area. So essentially, this is the first point of the integration. So we have a single database between Engager, your practice management system, and TaxCalc, your tax and compliance software. That is now shared with Workiro. So any existing clients that you have automatically synced to Workiro. Any new client that you add into their application, that's the source of truth for the record. That's automatically carried across into Workiro, so you don't have multiple databases to look after. It's amazing to go and see practices are still having this legacy problem of like 3, 4, 5 databases to look after and having IT teams trying to manage that. So straight away, we've solved that problem for you. So any record will automatically be here for you. So you can see if I went to my clients area, you'd have a list of all of your clients and you could start to search for them very, very quickly and find exactly what you're looking for. So in today's demonstration, we're going to be using Oakfield Property Holdings as our demo fictitious client today. But it's also worth just pointing out that Workiro understands relationships. So where you've got team members, where you've got intermediaries, so a lot of accountants might be working with IFAs or solicitors across multiple clients, and they don't just want the information saved against a client, they might need the information saved against the intermediary as well. And you can do all of that within Workiro. So I'm just going to open up the client file now, and you can see straight away what it does is it gives you an overview of all active work that's happening with your client. So the big difference between Virtual Cabinet and Workiro is Virtual Cabinet was a best-of-breed document management solution that only worked with the documents. That's the world we came from 15 years ago. But the modern practice has changed. Nick touched on it. Like communication is where a lot of the practice IP is held, and whether that's a conversation in email or something that now seems to be leaking out into Teams and Slack and all these other communication tools internally, and that causes fragmentation. So within Workiro, we've underpinned all of that with a communication layer. So we've got the concept of threads, which can happen both internally and externally. So very quickly, you can go to Oakfield Property Holdings and see what is live. So you can see here, I've got some work going on around tax computation. I can see that this P11D has been filed. I can see there's a HMRC response that's new and it's just come in, and I can see the members of staff that are working on it all within either the internal or external collaboration between yourselves and your client. Now, if I go over to the documents area, this is where you start to see the full, complete client file that sort of Andy and Nick and Danny were referring to here, and the centralized filing convention and that structure of the file. So you can see that at the moment, my file here is broken down into sections. So you can see your correspondence, your payroll, your permanent file. So that's like the equivalent of the pink file, blue file, buff file stuff we were talking about, the old school paper filing cabinets. We can replicate that exactly in a digital version for you in Workiro. This is all customized and is part of the solution. The beauty is, of course, though, is everyone is doing it the same way. And you can very quickly, collapse the groups here, and you can start to see it like you would if you were just clicking on it and opening it like a folder. But the beauty is here is that the restriction that a folder has is it's centric. The file has to live in a particular location, the centricity of that folder. And as soon as you want to go and look across the file, you can only be in one place. You can only be in the folder. You can't be across the whole different section of the file. So within Workiro, you can sort and group very, very quickly. So if I wanted to see everything that was relating to HMRC because a client phoned and I quickly wanted to deal with that in Andy's example there, I could start typing in and instantly go across those sections and be able to see what I'm looking for very, very quickly. You can also start to slice and dice and manipulate the file to suit you. So if I wanted to come into the file and switch it over very quickly into chronological order, you can do that. Work that's created by you. We have a lot of requests over the years with Virtual Cabinet that people wanted to come in and see just the work that they've been doing rather than everything that the team has been doing against that as well. Maybe you just wanted to very quickly group up your files by document type and get to your emails very quickly. You can do all of that within the system. Also, of course, aid the discovery process. So you want centralized filing, but when you come to the search and discovery, you want that to be very customizable. You can do things like search across the file in a particular range. So maybe a partner's not working on the file, but they're going to see a client. They very quickly want to see the last 6 months worth of work and very quickly review the file like you would if you opened the paper filing cabinet and thumbnailed through. On that note, you can do the same thing with the viewer here. So if I single click on the documents, what you can do is see a preview of the file. So it works with all capabilities of IT experience. We know that it needs to be user friendly, and all of this starts to add up in terms of the light bulb moments when people get it and see the difference of working through clunky folders and going all the way down the tree, can't find the document, all the way back out, seeing duplicates, having to open each one every time to try and see what it is. You can see very quickly now I can just flick through the file and start to review what I'm looking for. If you double clicked on the documents, you'd be able to open them in their proprietary application, edit them in Word, Excel, PDF, all of the things that you would expect to do. So how do you get a document into the system? It was really straightforward. You just click on add document, or you simply drag and drop it onto the client file, and it will be there ready to file away straight away because of that integration with TaxCalc and Engager. In this case, I'm just going to browse to my device. I'm going to quickly grab a PDF and I'm going to upload it straight into Workiro. This is where you have your filing convention, so it knows it's already in Oakfield Property Holdings, and what Workiro does for you based on what your requirements are is it starts to guide the users. So you can see this is a required field. I have to tag it against a particular section of the file. I can't go any further without doing that, and that guides the users through the same tagging convention and consistency that Andy was speaking about earlier. You can see here I've got my AI analyzation going on here, so it's actually just quickly read the document. You can see the machine learning there has automatically said, okay, well, based on that document, it's definitely a letter of engagement. I don't have to go through a save as process, and I can just hit save, and that saved that document away in my permanent section as a letter of engagement. So, you know, even quicker than the save as process, one drag and drop, hit the AI button and it saves it away. Obviously, if you don't want to use AI, don't have to. That can be all switched off. You can just use a normal save as, normal tag system, and you can file documents away. So I've kind of shown you grabbing a document that's ad hoc and how easy it is to put on the file, but you're probably all interested in, well, how does TaxCalc come into this process? How do we automate that so a human doesn't even need to go through a save as process? So what I'll do now is I'll just hop across to TaxCalc. And so I'm in Oakfield Property Holdings. So this is TaxCalc Cloud Connect. This is their cloud version of their tax and compliance software. And you can see I've just opened up a document here, CT41G. Imagine you're going to go through the process. I'm not actually going to do it here on the demonstration to speed things up. So I'm just going to go, right, check and finish. And what I can do is here, I can send it to the document management system. So I just say send to document management, and it just check. You can just have a quick check that it's got everything that it needs, which it will do. Hit send. And you can see straight away the software has notified you, full validation, that this document has been sent successfully from TaxCalc with all the right naming convention that Andy was speaking about. So that centralized filing convention there, tagged in exactly the right place in the file where you need it. and it will be done 100% accurate every single time, saving you loads of time and obviously building that beautiful logic that we were just doing in the searching there. If you wanted to open the file straight away, because that you've just saved it and you want to now start working with the file, to obviously email it, send it to a portal, you just click on that button there and you can open the client file directly from TaxCalc itself. So you can see that I've just clicked on it and I'm into the file, and I can go to the document section and start working with it straight away. So really straightforward for all the users, super simple and 100% automated.
Just to add on to there, David, as well, that Center Document Manager button is throughout the database in TaxCalc. So in sets of accounts, tax returns, company's house forms, in the AML function, you'll see that Center Document Manager button throughout it. So it's not just purely in one little bit. It allows the entirety of TaxCalc to feel connected to Workiro. That's entirely the design of it, is that you're not having to export anything and import it. It's going to go straight into the correct folder, as David showed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dave, just to jump in, there's a question from Peter that's come through that says, how do emails get stored into the client's file automatically? Is this linked with, say, Outlook? I wondered if we've got time to explain or to demonstrate that part of the process.
Yeah, sure. So very quickly, I'll hop across to Outlook. Just zoom out of the way quickly. Okay, so a couple of things to draw your attention to, though, around the integration. You can see here that there's a couple of new tabs. So you can see that there's a blue icon in this view here that's saying that this is in Workiro. So what that is a notification that this one is in Workiro, a clear one is not in Workiro. In the email itself, you can see it's telling you it's in Workiro, and in the add-in over the right-hand side, you can also see exactly what's happened with it, so the full history of what's going on. So you can see that the subject line is there. It's in an automatic capture mode. You can see who it's relating to because of it understanding the database with TaxCalc Engager, Oakfield Property Holdings. We also understand that James Thornton is the director of Oakfield Property Holdings, so it's relating it to both sections of the file there. It's tagged away in the tax correspondence area and relating to year 2025, because you can start to filter and group on years and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, the question was, how does that actually happen? Pretty straightforward. So if you go to send an email, and if we just call this TaxCalc webinar, what you can do is just start the process there, and what it will do is it will automatically record all of that detail between the databases and sync it between Workiro and the client file. So all I need to do is say add to Workiro there. You can see that it's picked up James Thornton, Oakfield Property Holdings. In this particular case, it said you need to make, like, as part of the practice rules, you need to make sure it's in the right section of the correspondence area. So we're going to say that needs to be to do with tax correspondence, for example. I then am being told I need to make sure it's against the right year. And that's it. I know that I've completed the right filing. So I've got confidence there. Carry on typing the email, hit send, and from that point on, Workiro will capture this whole conversation. If they change the subject line, all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be automatically filed in the client file for you, and it will flag to you, as I've just shown you earlier, whether you're sending and receiving an email, that it has been filed in Workiro. The other really nice thing it solves is if there is internal people involved in the email, and that's a problem we see a lot with folders, is that kind of multiple partners involved in an email conversation, deferred responsibility, who's doing the filing, when is the last version of that email the last version, and when does it get filed away? And often it ends up being that no one does the filing because that's a load of hassle, or everybody does the filing, and we end up with duplicate versions all over the place, and the next time someone goes into the file, they can't see the wood from the trees. So that's the solution to that problem.
Amazing. Thanks, Dave. Question about Gmail. Would it be the same process for Gmail? I know that you've sort of demonstrated Outlook, but it would be a similar process for Gmail.
Yeah, because the majority of our clients are on Office 365, the development that we built is primarily focused on 365. So all of that is already there for Microsoft, both in the desktop and the web version. We have built a Gmail because we know some clients use Google. So we have already built a Gmail add-in. But it is that you have to file them manually, one at a time. It doesn't do the automatic capture yet. So we'll get round to that in our roadmap, but you still can file emails from Gmail.
Amazing, perfect. And just to touch on, you sort of spoke a little bit about AI, and you've got sort of AI technology in beta at the moment. What benefits are you seeing of AI coming through, and how many Workiro users are using it, and what benefits are they seeing?
Yeah, we think it's really important that AI is not just a gimmick that's like sprinkled on to the application, that there's true use cases that before we release anything. So you've seen that I showed an example of the AI learning your filing convention to help you reduce the amount of clicks essentially to file documents away. Now, obviously, if you've got the integration with TaxCalc, all of that's going to be automated anyway. But we see a world where the intelligence of what we're releasing helps people never have to go through a save as process. I've never met an accountancy firm when I go and speak to them that said, well, I woke up this morning and I was buzzing about filing my emails. Best thing I could think of when I was having my breakfast. So we just think that is so old fashioned. We want to get rid of all of that admin so that you can work on high value work. The other thing I would say why that's important is this fragmentation that we've talked about is a real issue. Not just from an efficiency perspective, but we've all used large language models, right? ChatGPT, Copilot, etc. We've all seen it infer things when it isn't quite sure. One of the most important things around AI is trust, and to deliver good client service. Andy already said it, right? One spelling mistake undoes trust. You don't want AI doing things out of context. So I think this fragmentation of getting everything out of like multiple silos and putting it into one single source of truth starts to underpin reliability. What we've released recently is an MCP integration for Copilot and Copilot in Microsoft Teams, ChatGPT and Claude, so you can start to interact with your client file using just normal language. So as a use case, the documents that arrive in your client file are the evidence, right? The story of how you got there is often where accountants spend a huge amount of time going and looking through the documents, opening the Excel spreadsheet, reading the emails, et cetera, to try and make themselves up to date with what's going on with that record. Now, you can already talk to Claude, as an example, or Copilot, and say, hey, I'm going to see my client tomorrow. Give me an executive summary of what's going on with the file. It will read through Workiro, and we've trained it to give you the responses of exactly what's going on real time with the file with 100% accuracy. Imagine that now linked to TaxCalc and Engager, where you start to have the billing, the recurring revenue of what's going on with your clients. Imagine being able to talk to now your chosen AI of choice and saying, hey, give me the sentiment of all my top 10 clients at the moment. And because the record and the revenue is talking to the context, which is Workiro, it will start to be able to give you those management reports. And so we're starting to really see that the business intelligence is unlocked from AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dave. And I think that's an important point to reference because Workiro really is at the forefront of DM solutions. And I guess because you've got a newer infrastructure that you've built out Workiro on, it's a much newer program than your traditional sort of virtual cabinet solution. You're able to build out much more of this newer technology and embed it and deploy it much quicker, which is to the benefit of everyone else that's using it, and why we're so pleased to partner with you guys.
Yeah, we're very lucky in that respect. I mean, being a first generation desktop provider and how do you cloudify virtual cabinet, we've been able to sort of look at everything that our clients have ever asked for, everything that we've wanted to do in the vision, and being able to build Cloud 2.0, where it's not just a browser, it's literally built from mobile phone up. It's not just like a a companion app. All of this can be done natively in Apple, Android, browser, desktop. It has allowed us to build in the architecture some very clever things, like already you can use Siri with Workiro and leverage the Apple AI, all completely secure. So it's not going out anywhere. It's in your environment. And so you're sort of getting the cutting edge of bleeding technology right now.
Yeah, really exciting. And then it just gives you time back to focus on, the human connection and working with your clients and working on the work that you want to be doing to offer those sort of value-added services. I know that's a bit of a buzzword, but that's really sort of the focus for a lot of firms that we're speaking with at the moment, is how do we automate and sort of embed process for as much as possible and then deliver the work that we want to be delivering to clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. If we could just drop back to the slide deck just for the last few minutes, just a couple of points that I was keen to draw everyone's attention to. And thank you so much for joining everyone today's session. With thanks to our panelists, obviously, Andy, Dave and Nick, for sharing their insight and for demonstrating the product. Dave, that was wonderful to see. As I mentioned to Dan, anyone that's registered for today's session, I believe will get a recording sent out. So we'll ensure that they go out to you. We have oh, thank you. And there's a poll going into the chat. If you want to hear from us specifically, then please do let us know and we'll have someone from the team reach out to you. We have an event that TaxCalc Engager and Workiro are coming along to that we're running in Manchester next week. So if you're local, please do come along. It'd be lovely to see you. It's the second of our Fusion events, Fusion on the Road, I should say. Our first was in Birmingham a couple of weeks ago and it was great fun. We talk about best practice, we do product demos, we talk about roadmap. There's lots to cover. So if you are local and you've got some time to spare on Tuesday next week, then please do come along and join us. It's certainly not to be missed. And we had a little offer running at Accountex for any firms that were reaching out to us during that time, which was firms who are moving to Workiro. They were able to lock in a free of charge data migration and implementation consultancy onboarding piece, which we're able to offer everyone on today's session as well. So if you mention the words golden ticket when you're reaching out to us, we'll know what it means. And we'll make sure that we have someone in the team get you guys up and running using that. There we go. Thanks, Soph. Using that little offer. But yeah, ran it from Accountex. It was hugely popular. We had a lot of firms move across as a result of it. So yeah, we wanted to make sure that that golden ticket was still available to attendees for today's session. But just want to say a final thank you. Thank you to everyone for attending today. It was great to see you all. Thank you for engaging so much within the chat. And we hope to see you again soon. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye.